This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mailbag. It's Friday. It is August 9th, 2024, and we are going to start off here with your thoughts on SummerSlam. I haven't looked at any of the emails, so I don't know what you guys are going to be talking about, but I would imagine it's a lot of SummerSlam, probably some Bash at Berlin, Roman's return, Seth's quote-unquote injury. Although, if you haven't heard, the reason that Seth Rollins was destroyed on Monday Night Raw by Bronson Reed is to write him off TV. And the reason that they're writing him off TV is because Seth Rollins is going to be dealing with some nagging injuries, some chronic issues that he's had. I would imagine it's either with his knee or his back, because he needs to take care of it. And now is the time to do it. And it's smart. If he's trying to plan things out for WrestleMania, it's a great time to get himself healthy and hopefully in time to get back for WrestleMania season. Now, I don't know how long Seth's going to be out, but I just wanted to pass that along if you haven't already heard that the reason for Bronson's attack is not just to get him over as a heel or create a lot of moments on Raw, one of the moments of Raw, but also because they need to write him off TV. So, all right, let's jump into it. Let's jump into where are we going? Patrons, of course. Patrons get priority. We're going to start with AJ, and he's a patron of the show. He says, "Hi all, I know I've complained about the bloodline in the past, but I just can't state how tired I am of the storyline for them and absolutely sucking up all the oxygen in the main event scenes, such as main eventing the last 5 WrestleMania's event nights. I'm not a big Roman fan, but how long do you until he disappears for 3 to 4 months again and we're stuck with Solo and the other three ending every SmackDown and pulling everyone else down into the boring, repetitive finishes, just waiting for Roman or Rock to come back, or 2 dates and disappear again until Mania, where the story will inevitably main event both nights again while other wrestlers are left with scraps, especially on SmackDown because the bloodline kills half the show, and people wonder why Bayley's run felt boring. My positives are that Punk didn't get hurt, and it was fun watching SummerSlam with my dad, who hasn't watched WWE since Stone Cold. Sorry for the long rant. I'll listen to this and episodes I missed on my 13-hour drive this weekend." Well, very cool. And enjoy the ride. Be safe. Yeah, I mean, we've been living in a Roman Reigns bloodline world for 4 years now. If you remember, the whole thing started at SummerSlam 2020. I remember I was on vacation when Roman turned heel. And we were all flabbergasted. And remember the tagline for that SummerSlam was, "You'll never see it coming." Vince's clever tagline to tell the fans, you're not going to see this one coming. And we didn't. And it has worked out beautifully. The Roman Reigns heel turn has been one of the biggest, if not the biggest storyline consistently over the last 4 years. And there's been very different iterations, a lot of different varieties of the bloodline. It started with Jay, but Jay and Roman had their battle at the beginning, if you remember. I mean, they didn't get along, and then Jimmy came along to try to help Jay, and then ended up aligning with Roman, and then the Usos eventually both fell into line with Roman after some dispute, and then Solo comes along, and then Jay defects, and then Jimmy defects out. Sami Zayn comes in, Sami Zayn defects. Actually, he was the first one. And then Jay, and then Jimmy, and then Jay comes back with no explanation, and then there's a civil war. And I mean, so they've had very different iterations. And then, of course, The Rock is injected into this whole thing. And now we have a whole new bloodline with Solo at the front of it. And he's going to be the one facing off against Roman's OG bloodline. Now, how does The Rock factor into this? You'd imagine he's going to be the one heading up the new bloodline while Roman heads up the old bloodline. And then you're off to the races with Roman versus Rock, maybe. Because I have to say, Cody versus Rock does not interest me nearly as much as Roman and Rock does, and continues to. It's been how many years now, and we still have not got Rock Roman. So there's no excuse for it this year. The hell with Cody and Rock. I don't care about that. You can do it. You can do it at another event. You can do it at Royal Rumble. You can do it at SummerSlam if they want all the way next year. They can do it at a Survivor Series. You can do it at a Saudi event. I don't really care. I'm interested in the match, just not nearly as much as Rock Roman. And if I die without getting that match, I'm going to haunt every member of the creative team until the end of time. So my point about all this, the long way around of saying that we kind of got to get used to this for a little while longer. The bloodline is going to suck all the oxygen out of the room. They continue to. But you know what they're also doing? They're sucking all the dollars out of the room. They're a money-making machine. With their merch, the ratings continue to prove it. You'd have more of a case to say we need to move on from bloodline stuff if the ratings didn't pan itself out to be such a spike every single time that they're on TV. Minute by minute, you can see it. On top of it, The Rock has yet to come back and tell his side of the story with this thing and maybe have his match with Cody, which is going to happen, and then eventually face Roman, and how does he factor in, and all of that. So, I mean, we're still far from done. I could see a year from now, literally a year, post WrestleMania 41, where we're talking about, all right, we've done this combination, we've done that combination, we've done OG Bloodline versus Solo's Bloodline, we've done Cody and Rock, we've done Rock and Roman. It's time to maybe think about ending this. But if you're WWE, you're making money and you continue to print money with the Bloodline. I mean, it's tough to say to disband this group. It's really difficult to do. Money talks, ratings talk. And right now, they're giving us both of those. And if I'm an organization that is concerned about those metrics, then what am I doing messing with something that's working? So I totally hear you, though, from just a pure outside perspective, not caring about dollars or ratings, just a pure viewing perspective as a fan. It does sometimes get overbearing where everything's bloodline all the time. I get it. All right. Thanks, AJ. Let's go to another patron, Joel. Joel says, hey, Matt, SummerSlam was epic. By far my best WWE experience. Just a couple notes about the show. I went home and rewatched it. And honestly, I think WWE had the crowd volume turned way down because outside half of the Bayley-Nia match, the crowd was bumping. It was so much louder than what I heard on TV. I was slightly disappointed in the merch stands inside the stadium. Not great for variety. There was a superstore set up a few blocks away, but I wasn't ready to stand an hour in line. Overall, though, to sum it up, I'm still floating from the experience, topped off by nearly being run over by a golf cart carrying Drew McIntyre. So glad I was able to tell him how much I enjoyed the ass kicking he delivered on Punk. Pretty sure I was the only one booing him, and Cody too. The little kid in front of me was shooting me daggers. As far as Monday goes, it felt like Raw after Mania to me. Love that they actually gave us the why as to why Randy was there. I'm definitely rocking with Judgment Day 3.0, and the Wyatt 6 did not disappoint. Sorry for the length, but my in-person review is more interesting than what Cody has to talk about. Thanks, Joel. Yeah, but one thing before I respond to your email, and thanks for the email, Joel, is those of you that are Cody fans, this is a legitimate question. I think I've posed this before, but I haven't got an answer. Those of you that have been supportive of Cody, wanted Rock to go away and have Cody win, and you're a Cody fan and you love everything he does and his little mannerisms and his perfectly cut hair and his bleached teeth and his manicured hands and the way he speaks and his dog and all of the stuff that makes me want to jump out my window, is a serious question. Do you think that so far Cody Rhodes' run as champion has delivered, or do you think it has been underwhelming? I'm trying to be as objective as I can. I don't think it has really lived up to the hype. But what could that hype really deliver, though? You know, like, here's what we have to understand as fans. Especially with baby faces, the money is almost always in the chase. Trying to get behind the baby face to finally topple the heel, and then you get that moment, right? The chase is where the money is at. The excitement's where the chase is at. Rarely is it the excitement when he's trying to hold on to the title. So I can't really fault Cody and the creative team too much, because the way that title runs usually go, especially for babyfaces, and really almost exclusively for babyfaces, is that the money is in the the chase. So that's kind of the way it works. So you can't really expect the excitement and anticipation to be as intense as it was leading up to him winning. And for the heels, it's kind of the opposite. Now, the money's usually in the length of the run, how they continue to sneak out of title victories or whatever the case. So it's almost the inverse for heels. You don't really care about their chase. You care about them just having to lose it, right? So their money's in the length of their run and how they win or how they continue to win and avoid the title being dropped. But anyway, that was a legitimate question to those of you who are Cody fans. Back to your email, Joel. Careful with the golf cart, number one. Number two, I had a feeling that the audio that we heard on TV didn't match what you probably heard in person. And I don't know if it's WWE purposefully turning down the volume. I don't know why they would want to do that. You want it as loud as possible for an at-home experience. I think just acoustically, the mics that WWE has simply just don't pick up the noise when you're in a stadium as well as when you're in the stadium. For whatever reason, the human ear in the stadium can hear it better than these high-end, expensive microphones that cannot relay it correctly back to the viewer at home. I don't think it was a deal where they turned down the volume because there's no benefit in that. I mean, they did it during Roman Reigns' babyface run, if you remember, during the Big Dog run for how many years? 5-6 years. And there were times the crowd would boo him and the crowd would tone that, or the production team would turn down the boos because then the perception at home would be a little bit skewed to what they want you to do and think. But for this case, there'd be no reason to do that. Again, I think it's just a matter of the acoustics in the building with the noise escaping into the sky. Because the way that the pop initially was super loud, and then when Roman came out, you heard it as he came out. It was like, okay, I hear people cheering, but it doesn't seem that loud. And when Michael Cole saying it was the biggest ovation, he's one of the biggest he's ever heard, and goosebumps, I'm like, well, that's not the experience at home. So something happened for sure. I don't think it was intentionally WWE turning down the sound. So that's just my take. But thank you so much for your in-person take, Joel. Glad you enjoyed it. That's one you'll take with you forever as a fan, no doubt. All right, Hungry Pup, let's get to it. Another patron, he says, let's discuss the IC Championship prestige for a moment. Gunther has elevated the Intercontinental title so high it feels like a main title. When Sami Zayn finally conquered Gunther at Mania, the IC Championship prestige skyrocketed. Sami Zayn is a great champion. We care about his character, we get excited for his matches and sing to his music. We pump our fists for every blue thunder bomb and fly out of our chair for every haluva kick. I'm not sure I'm the only one disappointed in his run. Or disappointed his run is done. But let's pretend for a minute that the Intercontinental Championship felt like a mid-card belt. I imagine the title holder would have boring music, generic gimmick, and a generic finish like a spear, and little to no character development. The character would need the belt's help to get over with the fans because there's no other reason to care. In other words, Braun Breaker. Now, I get the title. The creative team pulled the trigger on this title change. Sami needs to move on to a bigger program, i.e. the second Bloodline War. Not to mention the IC Championship and the World Championship felt backwards in terms of prestige until last weekend. No offense to Priest, he did a great job, but like Gunther says, it just never felt right. I guess all is right in the world in terms of prestige now, but why? Why tear down the prestige of the belt? Why such a short match? Why Braun Breaker? Would have made more sense to make Sami vacate and hold the tournament. Hungry, these are good questions. When you really think about all of the babyface victories of who won at WrestleMania, none of them are holding the belt anymore outside of Cody. Bayley has dropped it, right? Obviously, Sami Zayn has dropped his Intercontinental Championship, and I have to be honest, I continue to say this, I never felt right with Sami winning at WrestleMania anyway. I wanted it to be Chad Gable. I still believe it should have been Chad Gable. The fans remember the backlash for that. Sami Zayn, his title run, just like Cody's title run since Mania, just like Bayley's title run since Mania, all felt underwhelming. You know, it just, I think, is just kind of symptomatic of the nature of babyfaces winning, especially at a platform like WrestleMania. After they win, a lot of times you just kind of look around, and I'm sure the creative team knows too, and you're like, Now what? It can't be as exciting as the chase. You can't write a story that's exciting as a chase. So you have to recalibrate your expectations after a babyface wins. With very notable exceptions, okay? The Stone Cold Steve Austin in the late 90s, okay? No matter what he did or how he did it, everything was monumental. Everything was, even after he won, it was on fire. Keeping the belt, it was fire. Everything and all the time. He is bigger than the business. Not a lot of guys get to that point. He's one of them. John Cena's one of them. Hulk Hogan's one of them. The Rock's one of them. Yeah, very few get bigger than the business, and Austin was bigger than the business at that point. And so, but for the rest of us living in today's world, the chase isn't nearly, or the victory isn't as near as exciting as the chase. So anyway, putting all that into this, my answer again, you have Braun Breaker, who is on the ascent, right? Braun Breaker's a guy that's still in the development. They haven't even found music for him yet, for God's sakes. But he is definitely a case of the belt trying to make the guy. I'm not a fan of that way. It's a way you can do things, but it's a way I don't like things generally done. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying as a general rule of thumb, I think the guy helping make the belt is better than the belt trying to make the guy. Because if you're trying to have the belt make the guy, then the as you would say, the prestige or the value of that belt decreases because the guy holding it or gal holding it is sucking that prestige away. They are taking rather than giving. And right now, Braun Breaker is taking from the Intercontinental prestige. He is the one using up that prestige. And it's okay. That happens every once in a while. And here's the thing. I appreciate what they're doing. They're trying to make a new star. This is what, as fans, I think we have to understand sometimes is it's not always going to be exciting. You're not always going to have the most exciting champion at all times. And not everyone's going to be a big star all the time. And you can't. You have to go through the pain of sometimes characters being boring. There's a growing pains that come with every character that comes along. And sometimes they work out. Sometimes they don't. But with Braun Breaker, they're investing time in him. They're taking a chance. They see something long-term in him clearly. So we're going through that more kind of quote-unquote boring part of the star building process. It's not always exciting because not everyone can be a star. You can't just, it doesn't just happen. It takes time, and that time is a lot of things people don't have, especially time is something that, and patience more specifically, is something that people don't have today. So I'm willing to give it more time to breathe. I think Braun has potential. I think I like what I'm seeing. He's not just a one-move guy. He's not just Goldberg 2.0. I don't believe that. Way more athletic. We've seen how good he is in the ring. The things he can do in the ring are, that's not even comparable to what Bill Goldberg is, who's like literally a one-move guy or two-move guy, jackhammer and spear. So I have no issues with this right now. And I think really Sammy's title reign, as we all said, it has felt a little underwhelming since he beat Gunther. So anyway, all right. Let's, thanks, Hungry Pup. Let's see, my gosh. I'm going to go to a less, my God, you guys, the length of the email. I can't, guys, you got to trim the emails down or I'm only going to read half of them because of the pacing of the show. It's a lot. All right. It's a lot. I'm trying to get to everybody. Let's see. I say I'm a lot. Let's go to DJ Kuzmo. He says, as the dust settled from this past Saturday's SummerSlam, with the changing of WWE's landscape, with the return of Roman and the beginning of new title reigns, to the four credible champions in Gunther, Knight, Queen, Nia, and Braun Breaker, who would have thought that we'd have four new champions? Oh, that's right, I did with my perfect 7 of 7 SummerSlam predictions. You and me too. Anyway, not further to toot my own horn, my main takeaway from SummerSlam was the implosion of the Judgment Day and how this is setting up nicely for a potential War Games 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 with the Judgment Day and the OG Judgment Day, which is currently down to 2 members. That's interesting. Yeah, kind of like the deal with the Bloodline. They could have a Bloodline and Judgment Day Survivor Series War Games, unless they decide to do men and women, in which case you're going to do that over 2 men's matches. And also furthering on the whole Sami Zayn loss, the idea is, and it's probably true, that the adding Sammy and Jay to the Bloodline story, which is going to be happening soon, is worth more than Sammy continuing his Intercontinental title run. I mean, that's just math. So I think that's also a big reason, as we noted. If Edge was still in WWE, inserting him back into this story would be interesting, as he could reunite with Rhea and Priest after they apologize and ask for forgiveness in some sort of way. Plus, Edge and Balor had some past encounters leading up to their Hell in a Cell match from WrestleMania 39. I haven't even thought about Edge. Since he went to AEW, which got, more power to him. He was able to work with Christian among Luchasaurus. I saw that one there, and I haven't really watched a whole lot of what he's done outside of that. I don't know what his contract status is with AEW, though. If they were to get Edge back, which I think would be an asset, a big get for WWE. I know that's weird to say at his age, but Edge still has more to give in WWE. I actually think it's not a need for the company, but I think you're missing out on some big time stories with Edge, including the Judgment Day, as we said. Judgment Day he could mess around with for a few months. But what about John Cena next year? John Cena is going to be available for 12 months. If they can get Edge next year, John Cena versus Edge, I mean, think about that rivalry back in the mid-2000s, late 2000s. I mean, he could work with Edge. Of course, Randy Orton will probably be an opponent at some point, maybe his final opponent. We can talk. We have many more months to talk about John Cena and who he's going to face. And does he have a 16 title run? Does he turn heel? Who's his final opponent? Who's his WrestleMania opponent? On and on and on. Tons of speculation. A lot of fun coming next year. But I think Edge is one that we're not really thinking about. Not just for potentially facing John Cena next year, but also for this storyline with the Judgment Day. One last thing to mention. How about Odyssey Jones finally debuting on Monday Night Raw? Almost 2 years in the making. The guy was drafted to Raw in 2023, and this year he hasn't made an appearance until this week with the New Day. I totally get the comparison of him and Mark Henry, but let's see how creative places him in the story angle with the New Day versus Final Testament. Plus, what's up with Xavier Woods, as he is not too thrilled about Jones aligning with the New Day? Is Xavier turning heel? Well, yeah, with Odyssey, I mean, I think that's the tease. And what my guess is with Xavier is they're putting feelers out there. Maybe they're not fully committed to turning him heel. They're waiting for the fans to respond in kind. Do you agree with what we're about to do? Do you want us to not do that? I think there are times when WWE literally puts it to us and allows us to decide which way they're going to go. Now, they'd say they do that all the time, but they usually have a solid idea. But sometimes I think there's stories that they literally just can't figure out which way to go, and they let the fans kind of guide them. This may be one of them with Xavier. Anyway, this is DJ Kuzma signing off. Have a great weekend. See you on the Discord chat for Friday Night SmackDown. All right, I'll get to your Joe Hendry report. I didn't get to it last week, so I apologize. I'm downloading it now. I'll get it to the back end of the show. Okay, let's go to Dino. He says, what's up, Matty Boy and everybody tuning in? Dino from Scotland. This past weekend is always one of my favorite weekends of the year, with SummerSlam and the start of a new Scottish football, i.e. soccer season, on the same weekend as the team of the champions, Celtic champions, I'm not sure, kicking off on Sunday to begin the new season at Celtic Park, which, of course, I'm always in attendance for. Okay, in the interest of time, I've decided to compress my email and leave some bullet points, as I've got so much to get off my chest. These bullet points are exactly what they are, just bullet points, just a passing mention of things I'd like to bring up, but isn't deep and an in-depth response or any kind of response unless you feel like everyone wants to go there. Okay, got it. All right. Here's your first one. The big men truly shined on Raw. Odyssey, Bronson, and Rowan. I mean, I agree. Odyssey looks really good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him develop into a star, but at the same time makes the New Day feel a little more relevant again for me. I was like you. I had zero interest in the New Day and would even fast forward right through their matches and segments entirely, but now Odyssey has got me a little bit more interested. I would concur with that. I didn't talk a whole lot about it on my Monday Night Raw review, and I probably should have. I think there is absolutely something there. There's a reason they probably waited, and now that he's involved in the New Day story, it not only makes Odyssey relevant, but the New Day relevant again. I really enjoyed the debut of the Wyatt Six. They really shine. It's the first time in a long time I've sat and applauded in front of the TV screen after the match. That was just great all around. I would agree. I mean, the Wyatt Six, a lot of anticipation there, a lot of expectations. And I think all of those men really delivered. And I'm not just talking about the Wyatt Six. I'm also talking about the Creed brothers and Chad Gable, who continue to impress. And I think this was a win for everyone. It was the main event of Raw, and it deserved to be. It couldn't have gone better, I think, from an in-ring perspective. And they did a lot of nice kind of setting the table, too, of giving you an idea of who everyone is, at least giving everyone their own VHS tape. Very well done. I might be the only one who thought SummerSlam was kind of lame. The only big shocking thing was that we didn't see coming was Finn screwing Priest, but even some people saw that coming. Take away Dom kissing Liv, Finn screwing Priest, and Roman returning. It's really just a normal, average, straightforward PLE. It's B+ for me, I'm afraid. Okay, I have a lot of questions on this. Okay, so number one. So if a B+ to you is, quote, kind of lame, then you just described, at best, my high school GPA. All right, so I guess, yeah, I think I actually ended with a B-. My final average was like an 81. I was just a B student. So I would even be, according to your standards, beyond kind of lame. I would just be straight lame. Number two, the idea, okay, so you're saying, well, besides Dom turning on Rhea, besides Finn screwing Priest, besides one of the biggest stars in wrestling returning, there wasn't anything going on. It's like, well, those are three massive things that happened. So, I mean, you can't have every match have every big turn. I mean, so I guess you're naming things that actually made the pay-per-view awesome, and also giving it a B+, which in most people's eyes is very good. And yet you're saying it was kind of lame. I guess I'm reading between the lines, though. To you, what I'm assuming is that you look for big, shocking things. And that's how you really sometimes grade a pay-per-view or a PLE. So that was just a really funny statement, because you give it a B+, you talk about three big things that happened and then said it was kind of lame. So anyway, moving on. Had you implemented my suggestion on time, you would have probably had the first ever winner of the podcast predictor, as you got all of your predictions spot on. Yeah, I know. That's what I get. I mean, that's what I get for not implementing things. I lose. Picking up on your question from the SummerSlam review, where you asked if this is LA Knight's ceiling and about the world title possibly being in the next 12 months, I can't see Gunther dropping the belt anytime soon. I think this reign is going to be a long one, and I mean, he could be champion for at least a year. Agreed. Yeah, I don't think it's LA. It's a really good question, though. I mean, the idea that LA Knight could just be, at the end of the day, end of his career, the top of his, at the top of his resume is that he was a U.S. champion. That's very likely. But if the support for LA Knight continues, even along this trajectory, I think they have no choice but to eventually make him champion, whether it's undisputed or world. Maybe if there's next year a shakeup and he gets drafted to Raw, I think there's a good chance there. Now, I said that this year and he didn't, but I think next year, maybe with a reset, he could. I noticed Randy said to Gunther about Germany being his homeland when Gunther's from Austria. Germany and Austria share a borderland by the looks of it on Google Maps, but still, it doesn't change the fact it's two completely different countries. Yeah, I mean, that's like saying, I'm from the United States, from New York, but it'd be the equivalent of Randy Orton saying to me that if there's a pay-per-view in Toronto, Canada, or Montreal, Canada, or wherever in Canada, I'm gonna beat you in front of your home country. I'd look at him and be like, bruh, no, that's incorrect. I mean, yeah, they border each other, but you could say that about how many countries border one another? Are there any countries that are just islands? Australia, right? So it's just kind of, he's geographically incorrect. I don't care if they border one another. To me, it wouldn't matter if they're on opposite ends of the earth. The fact is they're two separate countries. So anyway, I noticed Randy said to Gunther Oh, wait. Oh, no. Already read that. End of bullet points. Last, I'd like to bring up something you and the listeners, and I don't think Alex, the French guy, is going to like. On 2K24, I made a custom podcast, WWE Podcast European Championship, which is available for download if you search for it. Just search for championships and make sure you put in the 3 custom hashtags, the WWE Podcast, European, and Championship. Hit search and you should find it, no problem. The colors of the belt match the colors from your original podcast image. I assumed these are official colors for the podcast, which are red and black. I've also added the WWE Podcast official image of you, which can be used in the game on Superstars, Arenas, Money in the Bank Briefcase, shows, videos, and of course on custom championships like the one you've created. Just make sure and remember to enter the custom hashtag, the WWE Podcast, all one word. Now to the part the Alex, the French guy, isn't going to like. Well, first of all, that very cool. I'm in the creator, the creator side of things. If you guys want to search for it, you can search for the WWE Championship, I guess, the WWE Podcast Championship. I love that. It's a European Championship, but with our logo. I love it. So search the WWE Podcast, the hashtag, anyway. Okay, so what is the French guy not going to like? I have pictures of my created superstar, Dino the Destroyer, with the custom WWE Podcast European Championship belt. I've attached the pictures in this email, so feel to post them on X just as long as you tag me to give credit, and you can post them in the Discord as well. I should point out that these were uploaded on Xbox, so in terms of crossplay with the PlayStation, I don't know that exists, but if you're on Xbox, and you'll be able to find the image in custom championship with no issues. By the way, if anyone wants their ass kicked on 2K and on your Xbox, let me know. My gamer tag is Dino96HH. I know there's people who listen that like to game too, even if while listening to the podcast. If you're interested, I also play the likes of EA FC, GTA 5, and Call of Duty World War II. So feel free to hit me up. In regards to Alex the French guy, I'm just messing with you, buddy. It's tongue-in-cheek. Don't worry, it's a joke. Speak to you next week. All right. A lot of shade being thrown there, but of course, all in good fun. Now, yeah, you guys might want to enjoy GTA 5 because once GTA 6 comes out, no one's going to have a job anymore. We're all just going to sit at home and play GTA 6, which is coming next year. I don't know when. So, I will say I have not. Now, 2K24, for me personally, and you guys everyone has their own lives and free time and all that kind of thing. I would say I have played exactly 0 minutes of 2K24. And it's been out for 6 months now, almost 5 months. I've had time to play 0 minutes of that game. And that's the first wrestling video game that I have not played since, maybe this is going back. WCW NWO Revenge on the N64, which, of course, to WrestleMania 2000, and then one of the greatest video games of all time in wrestling, and No Mercy. And then the SmackDown series took over, SmackDown versus Raw, the originals, 06, 07, 08, 09. And then the SmackDown, or the 2K series after WWE 11. Or no, it started with WWE 12. And then 13. And then it became the 2K 14 took over. And then 15, 16. And then here we are to 2K 24. So suffice to say, this is like the first game in 20 years I haven't played that's wrestling. I have no time. But the rest of you, I'm very jealous. So, good stuff. All right. Let me check on Patreon, the actual site here, because I know sometimes I miss it. Let me go to checking my mailbox on Patreon, guys, just to make sure that those of you, if you did message me, I don't think nobody did. Okay, good. That's a good thing. Not embarrassing, I promise. This is from Aaron. He says, "Hey, I love the pod. I'll get right to it. It's possible Orton could be traded for Jey Uso to set up the OG Bloodline reunion. That would be a clean way to explain brand change. Also wanted to hear your thoughts of Seth versus Drew culminating at Hell in a Cell. Seems like a perfect feud to end in such a manner and hasn't been used in a while." Well, it hasn't been used in a while, but I would say Punk and Drew. Not Seth and Drew. Seth's about to take a bunch of time off. And Seth and Drew, they don't need to really reignite anything. They had their program. I love them in the ring together, but the story right now is Drew and Punk, and then eventually Seth and Punk. Drew and Seth have kind of had their time. They may have matches in passing, but I think their storyline, by and large, for the time being anyway, for the rest of the year, is put to the side. As far as Jey being traded, Well, I think the who is it? Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, A-Town Down Under, excuse me, are probably going to be traded for Jay and Sammy. Now, is that a fair trade on paper? No, it's not. Oh boy, my lights are flickering here. We've got the tropical storm moving through here. Jeez. My lights keep flickering, so I'm really hoping I don't have to do this in sections. Not that anybody cares. This is all pre-recorded to you. You don't care. But anyway, let's see here. So, Drew culminating at Hell in a Cell? No, as I said, for the reasons. But thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. If it sounds like I'm speeding up the mailbag, it's because I don't know if I'm going to lose power here. All right. Let's see here. So we've got Seth, and he says, I think this is something that not many people are up in arms about. But if we get heel Rock versus babyface Roman at WrestleMania 41, that would be a huge letdown. I'm more and more peeved off by the day that the Rock Roman match never happened due to this fact. It absolutely should be heel Roman versus babyface Rock in Vegas, but it seems as if that ship has sailed due to the Cody dilemma. What are your thoughts on this? This Cody dilemma has a rippling effect that we never thought would happen at this magnitude. It originally was going to be what you wanted, what I wanted, what most fans thought they wanted. Babyface Rock, heel Roman. And I still prefer that. But the fact that the fan movement of we want Cody changed the main event from Rock Roman to Cody Roman, that forced Rock to turn heel, and which we all, if you don't love this heel Rock, I don't know what to say. Most people have agreed, but that doesn't mean you have to follow. Have agreed this is one of the best versions of The Rock. And I would agree, I would concur with that. But now The Rock is heel. And that's what the people expect when he returns, this heel version of The Rock that is ultra entertaining. So they have to continue that, I would think. And the idea that Roman just turned babyface for the first time in 5 years is monumental. And it's so far been a monumental success. So I think you can't then flip them back. They're both just starting to breathe in their new roles. And very successfully, I might add. See, unfortunately, if you get it this year, it probably will be heel Rock versus babyface Roman. Yes, the good guy, bad guy roles are inversed. But when it comes down to it, people still love The Rock even in this role. Even in this babyface role that Roman has, people will still boo him. And this heel role that The Rock has, people still cheer him wildly. So ultimately, is it that big of a deal? No. I still would rather have it happen than not have it happen at all. So, all right. Let's go to, let's see. Let's go to Carrion. And he says, well, he's got a couple emails here, so I'll kind of, I'll go through here quickly. He says, overall, good and some boredom for SummerSlam. Your best was Liv and Rhea. Your worst was Zayn and Breaker. Well, yeah, that was a short match. Drew was great as we both support RFC. Overall, you said very predictable. You wanted more Tiffy time, but Triple H is doing well. Some were 10 out of 10. Others were 2 out of 10. Just getting bored with the bloodline. Same old, same old. Please be kind. These are just a 50-plus-year-old fan's opinion. And you also said you had some notes from Raw, and you said, I'm a bit worried about this, but it was good. Some highlights. Gunther and Orton will be a solid program. Rollins, CM Punk, and my lad Drew. Great, but Bronson Reed, this came out of the blue, but this kind of stuff is needed. I would agree. Bronson Reed is out of nowhere, but this, just like Braun Breaker, is for those that don't want these new stars. Well, you have to deal with this if you're a fan. This is how the company, how the industry survives, is this cycle of creating new stars. And it's not always going to be the big guys all the time. Big names coming back. Brock's coming back. Rock's here. Oh, you're going to have to deal with new stars getting the spotlight. They can't become new stars otherwise. I know people sometimes don't have patience for that, but it's part of the process. So I'm not talking to you, Carrie, I'm talking just the fans that are impatient and only want the biggest and the best all the time. It's not possible. So anyway, Judgment Day, the new direction, and them against DP and RP. Wow, Liv is doing solid work. Dom is going to get his ass kicked. The Wyatt 6 debut, solid. All they need is Alexa, in my opinion, humble opinion. Yeah, we'll see about Alexa. I don't know if I want her to return into the Wyatt 6. They have Nikki Cross as the female flavor for the group. I think Alexa could do very well on her own without it, but I wouldn't hate if she got back involved in it. But I remember when she got involved with Bray, it was fun, but it felt like she kind of went into a black hole where she just sat on a swing backstage, sat on a set, said some creepy stuff, sat in her little dress, and she didn't do any wrestling. There was a long period of time where she didn't do any wrestling, and that's not what I want for Alexa if she comes back. So as far as your not so good stuff, a lot of fillers. The New Day are a joke. The new woman factions are boring and predictable. Love R-Truth, but The Miz is turning soon. The Theory Down Under, or A-Town Down Under, are awful and annoying. American Made are not my cup of tea. Overall, because of the strengths, it was fine. Hard to fill 3 hours full of entertainment. I do definitely need to level up soon. I would love to be on the show. Thank you. And one love. Thank you, Carrion. I really appreciate it. And hey, not everything's going to be everyone's cup of tea. And that's what we all just need to understand with wrestling. I go on rants about stuff that people just want to tell me to shut up about. But that the beauty of it is everyone can get their own podcast. Everyone gets their own voice, So, Carrion, I agree with a lot of your stuff. I will say American Made, though, I'm probably on the opposite end. I really like American Made. They're pure wrestlers. They're no nonsense, but they're also obviously very good in the ring. So, all right. Let's go to, I think the final email here. Final email, I believe. Let's go to Matt. And he says, just joined Patreon. Longtime listener. Love the show. I didn't know you were on Patreon. So I would have put you more towards the front. So next time, put in the subject, you're a patron. So longtime listener. Love the show. Thanks for what you do. So now that Sammy has dropped the IC belt, can we look back a little and reflect on everything? I'll be honest with you. I cannot for the life of me understand why Chad Gable wasn't the one who took down Gunther to win the belt at WrestleMania. It was Chad that built up the whole story with his wife and his kid, and all of a sudden, Sammy steps in a few weeks before Mania and literally runs with everything that Chad had built. Totally ticked me off. I'm still not over it. Even with the stupid sweatshirt that Sammy wears, reminds me every week that the whole storyline with Chad was Chad's to begin with. Why wouldn't WWE just let Chad have his moment? I do not understand. What are your thoughts? I mean, you've kind of heard my thoughts about this. I said it earlier in the show. I still don't think it was the right choice. The fact that he has not been Intercontinental Champion yet is still mind-blowing. He still hasn't. Chad Gable has been a shining light of Raw for several months, and he still has not been rewarded for it. And it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon because you're not going to have Chad take it off another heel. You got to wait till another babyface takes it. Then he could, unless there's a triple threat. But you typically don't go from heel champion to heel champion. Almost never happens. So right now, Chad is probably going to just be running this group, helping build new stars with the Creed brothers and giving them the rub. So that's kind of where we're at. But I still don't think it was the right choice. Chad Gable should be the guy. I think their thinking was, well, we've already gotten 3 matches with Chad and Gunther. Why do we want a 4th at Mania? The answer is because they've all been effing awesome. And Chad has a new reason to fight now, talking about his family. And the crowd was really behind him, by the way, too. And it's a perfect David and Goliath story, better than Sammy is. Sammy did feel like he kind of swooped in and stole what was Chad's. And that's why a lot of fans had resentment for him. All right, cool. Let's get to, while we can, quickly, the Joe Henry report, and then maybe one voicemail after that, and we'll call it a night. So here we go.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record to you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name. As I take it to my 4th episode of the Joe Hendry Report, a little abbreviated today, as we fast forward to NXT last night at the Great American Bash Night 2, as we had Joe Hendry versus Joe Coffey in a matchup that went 8 minutes and 12 seconds, as Joe Hendry got the victory with the standing ovation chokeslam to Joe Coffey. But is this the end of Joe Hendry on NXT? As everybody loves his song. Everybody's saying his name, even Booker T, who is now the president of the Joe Hendry fan club. Everybody loves him, and they're singing his song every time he appears on NXT. But Joe Hendry did say in an interview with Sarah after the match that he likes it on NXT and he wants to stay here a lot longer. So he put out a challenge to anybody in the locker room, in the NXT locker room, that has a problem with Joe Hendry, that, hey, let's have a match next week on NXT. And he also did say something like this, and believe me, what's next for me is that you won't even have to say my name because I will appear. Now, with that being said, this is your guy, DJ Kuzma. Remember to say his name, believe, and most importantly, do...
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
DJ, once again, we have to all thank you in unison for having that song stuck in our heads for the rest of our lives. I mean, just when you think it's out, you get your weekly refresher of that song meant to be stuck in your head. Joe Hendry said that, and it does stick in your head. That's the whole idea. So thank you, DJ, for keeping us abreast of what Joe Hendry's doing, as many of us probably don't watch NXT. I know there's a good handful of us, including myself, that don't watch NXT, and I think it's very important that we continue to watch Joe Hendry, who eventually will make it to the main roster. It's just a matter of time, of course. But thank you, DJ, as always, and let's get to our next voicemail.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore. So I wanted to talk about, my experience at Raw. I was there. I got to see the Wyatt Six in person. It was really cool because I never got to see, Bray Wyatt in person all that time. So it was cool to get a glimpse of what it was like when the Wyatt family existed all that time. And it was a cool debut. So bad for Chad Gable. He's been in the losing streak, but he kind of had to lose because it was all about the Wyatt Six. And so that was cool. I got to see, the Judgment Day, the new Judgment Day, I should say, with Liv Morgan and Finn Balor running the group. Balor back to being a heel, Rhea and Priest as baby faces, Rhea going after Dom and Liv, and Priest going after Balor, and they being a mixed tag team match at Bash Rollin, but we'll see. But overall, being there in person was really cool, and see what happens next with Liv and Rhea and the whole Wyatt Six stuff and Balor and Priest. So that's it. Just for a call. Bye.
Hey, Kyle. Been a while. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, Liv and Rhea, they're lighting up Raw right now, especially Liv. Rhea's absolutely playing her part, but Liv is the story to me because she's somebody that you didn't expect to be at this level. You thought that you knew where she was defined at, and she has totally flipped it on its head. And I really love what Liv has done. She's found her niche. She's found who that character is finally. She's not this ditzy, just slogan kind of woman who has like, watch me. It was kind of annoying for a while, but now she's really settled into this character that is believable, and she has done everything she said she was going to do. She took Rhea Ripley out, took her championship, and took her man, and took her spot in the Judgment Day. So now Rhea Ripley has to form her own group, maybe with Priest and others that will eventually lead to, as a previous emailer said, OG Bloodline versus the Bloodline 2.0, or the OG Judgment Day versus the OG the Judgment Day 2.0. They may not run those same storylines concurrently, as it feels a bit duplicative, but they could do that. And I think that Rhea and Priest have something there that they could recruit more people into to try to even out the numbers game that the Judgment Day has against them. So yeah, it's a fun time to be a fan, and I hope you're doing well, Kyle. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll kind of close it up there. If you want to join us on Patreon and get everything ad free, patreon.com/WWE podcast is of course the way to go. Or join us on Apple or Spotify. Both of them offer ad free experiences. Spotify, we're trying to grow as best we can here. So if you want to give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we really appreciate it. And there will be maybe a new podcast coming soon with something non-wrestling related, but we'll stay tuned for that. Thanks everybody for listening. As always, take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.